Hey guys, let's talk about last night's season finale of Downton Abbey. And it was a mild season finale, but there was still lots going on, so let's get right to it. So basically, this episode is all about Lady Mary and the two gentlemen that are still trying to have her love and affection. And on one hand, we have Gillingham, and on the other, we have Blake. And they are both professing their feelings, and they are both telling her that they want to be with her. It's very sweet. It's very romantic. And all she has to do now is basically choose. At this point, she's choosing neither of them. And she has good reason. Up until midway through this episode, Gillingham was still engaged and he has now called it off. And he's just said to her, listen, I'm going to wear you down and I'm ready to be your husband. And then we have Blake, who obviously in last week's episode saw a very different side of Mary with the whole pig extravaganza, and saw that she was a real person and was willing to get down and dirty. And then in this episode we saw Blake holding Mary's child. So I think that this shone a new light on him as well for Mary. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next season and who she decides. I actually like both of them. I think that they're both distinguished gentlemen. They both seem to really care about her. And it'll be interesting to see which one ultimately wins her affection. As this was going on, though, Mary found out who actually attacked Anna. And because Gillingham keeps coming to the home, this means that his valet's going to come, and that is Mr. Green, and he is no good. So she finds out finally from Anna that it's Mr. Green who attacked her. So she basically says to Gillingham, you need to ditch your valet and you need to do it immediately. And she won't tell him why, but she basically says, you would do it if you knew, so just trust me, you need to get rid of him. Meanwhile, unfortunately, Mr. Bates finds out that Anna is going to London on a last-minute trip, and so he takes this opportunity to leave the home and go to York. And we all can put two and two together, and it probably means that he's going to go and track down Mr. Green and do something that we all know Mr. Green deserves, but we don't want to see Mr. Bates get in trouble for. So as the episode plays out, we find out that Mr. Green has actually died. He stumbled into the street and was hit by a bus or a car. And a lot of people saw it. So, Lady Mary basically says, what should, because obviously she feels that Mr. Bates may have done something, but she, in her mind, convinces herself that, what he did was because Mr. Green deserved it, and, Mr. Bates shouldn't be punished for it. Obviously, we should all not take the law into our own hands, but in this case, Mr. Green was a horrible individual, and I'm not saying he deserved it, but so that pretty much wrapped up the whole Anna and Mr. Bates storyline. We'll see what happens, in the Christmas episode, but I hope that, Mr. Bates isn't punished for this and that he's able to, or they are able to move on with their lives together. So we still had Lady Edith, who is in a curious predicament because she's pregnant and she decided to keep the child after last episode. And in the beginning of this episode, there was all this talk about the pigs and how the farmer was going to not only keep the farm and look after the farm, but he was also going to look after the pigs. And so Edith thought, maybe I can offer them the opportunity to raise my child. And, it sounds kind of ridiculous because they don't live too far away from the farm, and we don't really want to see Lady Edith come running down every 2 seconds to check on the child, and I think it would just be a bad idea all around. So her aunt makes a suggestion that they go to Switzerland for 4 months, and obviously they go there, she has the baby, and somebody else adopts the baby. And probably the best idea, and I'm sure it was something that happened quite often back in the day when women got into situations that they weren't supposed to, and it had to be swept under the rug really quietly. So this is something that Edith has to figure out if that's what she wants to do. We don't really get a resolution in this episode, but we know that her grandmother finds out, and she doesn't really reprimand her. She just basically says, this is something that happens to a lot of women, and you'll be okay, kind of thing. She's pretty understanding. So Lady Edith is still going to have to figure out what she's going to do about her child. And she still hasn't been able to find Michael. He's still missing. So, that storyline is still not complete there. And then we had Lady Rose, who was determined to marry Jack Ross, the jazz musician. And of course, they were spotted in town by Mr. Branson. And, he told Lady Mary. And then, of course, Lady Mary, confronted Rose. And she's like, listen, I don't care what anybody says. I love him. And we're going to get married. And he actually proposes to her. But then Lady Mary goes to see him. And it's a really sad scene because, he says, listen, I know that we cannot be married, and don't worry, we're not going to be married. But he does love her, and he doesn't want to ruin her life. So he basically says, if this was a different place, if this was a different time, I would never turn my back on her, but I don't want to ruin the rest of her life, and I'm going to tell her we're not going to get married. So it's really sad because, it's a moment that, being an African American in these times, it was just going to be nothing but trouble. And we all saw it. And we knew that this was not going to be some happily ever after type of a romance. So they basically ended. And of course, Rose is devastated. But, what is she going to do? She can't force this man to marry her and ruin his life as well. So we do get a little bit of closure in that relationship. And, of course, Rose is not pleased, but it is what it is. And Robert actually comes back from being away. They really didn't explain too much about his absence. And, he went there to check on, I believe, Mary's mother's brother and all that kind of stuff. So he was in New York. And he returned, and he just says that he has a feeling that this isn't going to be resolved really anytime soon, and that the situation is still going to be kind of ongoing. So it wasn't really a huge storyline, and it was fine that it just kind of wrapped up really quietly. And he does get back in time for the bazaar that's happening on the property. Alfred comes back, and his father's died. This storyline was just kind of like blah for me this whole season, because he's been in love with one girl, another girl loves him, and it's kind of like, okay, just read the room, honey. This girl does not want you. And he proposes to her in this letter, and it's kind of like, oh boy. So he ends up leaving, and it's nice because him and what's her name? She ends up, they're basically best friends, and she just says, I care about you and I did love you, but we're just going to be friends from here on out, and I wish you well. So it was rather quiet season finale, and of course they have their Christmas episode, which will be in about a month and a half's time. So we'll see what happens when it all fully wraps up for this season. But all in all, it was a nice, quiet series finale. All right, guys, that's my review of Downton Abbey. Bye.